I'm very pleased to have Wayne Breitbart back on the show. Wayne is one of the world's best LinkedIn experts. He's got a book called The Power Formula for LinkedIn Success. And I understand from Wayne that it just got released. It's the fourth edition, Wayne, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So
we had a new baby this week, I like to say.
The baby book. So tell us a little bit about what's new in this book, just big picture.
Yeah, so of course, all the screenshots have been swapped out because we all know LinkedIn changes those things often. Several of the connecting communication strategies have been completely swapped out because of changes as well, and some new strategies around that idea. I'm a little more aggressive in adding connections than I might have been on version 1. There's a brand new chapter on mobile, a complete chapter on what are the best features on the mobile app, because we're all sort of juggling between two different tools really at this point. Yeah, so I'm really, really excited. And the book's been doing great so far.
Yeah, did you say it's already a bestseller?
Yeah, it's #1 new release in 4 different categories on Amazon already. So we've been blessed, my friend.
That's fantastic. Well, also it is available. You can get Wayne's book on Amazon. You can also find it at patinanation.com. So with that, we're going to turn it over to Wayne. He's going to tell us all kinds of great stuff about using LinkedIn.
Hi, everybody. Well, I'm so glad to be back with the Patina Nation, good friends here at Patina. And I always love to spend time with these guys because, I'm in your space, right? I'm 61, an experienced business person, past CPA. I'm still a CPA, actually. I just keep my license up. And like to be able to talk to people, especially that have a lot of experience and are maybe pivoting a little bit or trying to be in a new space to occupy in the professional world. So this should be, I'm really looking forward to our time together today. So if you haven't listened to the one we did, I think it was October, November. So if you haven't listened to that, you should, because a lot of those strategies are still the same, and I'm not going to be necessarily duplicating those strategies. Today's event is about changes and what's really gone on since October, besides my brand new book. LinkedIn, of course, changes, and we have to deal with those changes. And so today's about changes. So if you're looking for more LinkedIn 101 kind of stuff, and it's all important, even though I call it 101, and most people are not doing 101, be sure to listen to that past episode. It's on the website. But let's sort of just take a step back and figure out, where's LinkedIn right now in 2019? Where is it? Where's it been? And, LinkedIn has now been around for 17 years. And I know that's so hard for us to believe, right? Because we think it just was yesterday. Well, it wasn't yesterday. I was 44. Hello. I mean, that like scares me when I say that, right? 17 years. Now, most of us who have been on LinkedIn for a while have not been on it 17 years. Most of us have been in that 10-year range, kind of. For me, it was 11. Some people, at least in the Milwaukee area that I meet with often, are more than that, by a couple years. But I think I can safely say most people have been on LinkedIn for 6 or 7 years. And the big change that took place just a little over 2 years ago was the Microsoft purchase. So LinkedIn owns Microsoft owns LinkedIn now, and it scared us all to death, especially those of us that make a living teaching LinkedIn, wondering, oh my gosh, will they just merge it into some Microsoft thing, or what are they going to do? And they promised all along they aren't going to do that. Well, they're continuing those promises. And I would say, truth be told, it's been fairly stable. In the world of social media, stability isn't what a guy like me, a CPA, would say is stable, but in the world of social media, it's very stable. And so what's happened in the last sort of year? We really haven't had a profile change of significance. We have one thing when we get into the detail of the changes, that one little upgrade that I think is sort of cool. Otherwise, the profile's been very, very static since then. But what they have started to do is change a lot more of the paid features. If you're on Sales Navigator, which is their #1 sales tool, or if you're on the Recruiter, which is their recruiting tools, they have continued to really ramp up how those two tools work. And so I think what's happening is the maturing of LinkedIn, right? I mean, they're not taking too many things away from the free user, because they do know the free user is still the data they need. It's still, if we don't get the college kids to sign up and be taught in schools, which is one of the things I do, then the database starts getting smaller. And so I think they know that free still got to be darn good. and I think it is really darn good yet. But they've been continuing to enhance the paid platforms with more and more. And I'm on Sales Navigator, so I'm very comfortable and understand the enhancements they've given us in the last year. So will they continue to give the free people new things? I'm sure they will. I mean, we've gotten some free things, like you can now send a message on your mobile app. When you're messaging people, it can be a voice message. You can't do it on the desktop, but if you're responding to a message in your message box on your phone, you can push the little microphone and talk to the person. That's sort of cool. And I guess video is coming pretty soon in that answer too. So I think they're going to continue to enhance things. What is interesting about the enhancements, a lot of them take place on mobile. LinkedIn totally believes in mobile. I guess we all got to start believing in mobile a lot, but sometimes the enhancements do not exist on the desktop, like that one. You can't do that on the desktop, which is odd. But so anyway, so I think the free side's been fairly stable. I've got 5 things that I want to cover with you that were significant since in 2018. But I think they're also adding a lot of features to the advertising platform. Okay. And I think that's in response to some of the things Facebook's done in advertising, although that might be a nasty word these days because Facebook seems to be getting more bad press than good press out of what they're doing. So I'm a little nervous to say it might be in response to what Facebook is doing. But I think LinkedIn's understanding when it comes to targeting and building out lists for paid advertising, some pretty cool stuff going on there. Now I'm not a paid guy expert at all on LinkedIn. That's not my specialty. I function mostly in the free and Sales Navigator space. But if you're spending money on LinkedIn, you usually got to spend some pretty significant money when it comes to advertising on LinkedIn. It isn't like Facebook where a $50 investment might get you something. $50 investment on LinkedIn gets you about 10 clicks. And maybe if 10 clicks can lead you to a great customer, but a lot of us, we need more clicks than that to make something happen. So for the right situation, it's a great tool. But for most of, let's call it the mid-sized, privately held, solopreneur people, I don't think there's a lot going on there that I can advise you to get involved in that. But I will tell you, the free account is still a rock and roll machine for those of us in this space of consulting and privately held kind of mid to small companies. So let's get into it. So I've got 6 specific things that I think I really like, or let's put it this way, some of the things you're not going to like. Some of the changes you're not going to like, but you need to understand them because there's action steps you got to take because of some of the changes. And why don't I start with the whole idea about posting and sharing? I think the posting and sharing function is so misunderstood on LinkedIn, and people think that by doing certain actions on LinkedIn relating to posting and sharing, that something's going to happen that I don't think is going to happen. So starting with this premise, the things you post on LinkedIn, or when you like, share, and comment on LinkedIn on other people's stuff, it doesn't go to your whole network. Let's start with that. That's a foundational premise you should understand. It does not go into the feeds of all of the people in your network. And I know some of you are going like, what? Like, what do you? I'll say it again. You have a network of first degree connections. They will get some of your shares, likes, and comments. Some of them will. It's like Facebook. Facebook has always had that. Facebook has had the algorithm for a longer time than LinkedIn. So bottom line is, when you post, do not expect all your friends to go, hey, I saw your post today. Way to go. I really liked it. Some will, some won't. And what does LinkedIn decide? So when you got on your homepage, so here's my homepage, stuff shows up in your homepage, right? And what shows up there is based on an algorithm. Okay, the LinkedIn sharing algorithm is controlling what shows up in each one of our feeds. But it starts with this. It starts with a small portion of your existing first degree connections. Get that in their feed. Now, notice I did use the word small. I didn't hesitate to use that because LinkedIn has shared that term with us when they have shared how this works. And then it goes through a variety of filters. And we're going to have an article attached to the show notes for this today. And it's an article from Hootsuite talking about how the LinkedIn algorithm works and how to make it work for you. I'm not going to go into, of course, all this detail, but you need to read this article to really get comfortable. But the bottom line is there's this real confusing flow chart that LinkedIn shared, and Hootsuite grabbed it for this article. And it boils down really to this, that LinkedIn wants to feed this into into your connections feeds with the people who are most interested in your stuff. So let's think of it this way. Let's say you get 500 people in your network and you share an article, or you share a comment on somebody else's article. 50 people, let's say, will get that in their feed, not 500. That means there's 450 people who will not see it in their feed. Then LinkedIn, I'll call it a tranche. That's your first tranche of connections that LinkedIn's going to throw it into their feeds. If nobody engages with that, if it does almost nothing, meaning nobody shares, likes, or comments, or opens it, it's done. It's done. The other 450, the only way they'll see it is they got to go to your profile in the activity box underneath your picture, and they can look at your activity. Now, if it gets some engagement, LinkedIn will give it to another tranche of people, probably tomorrow, and probably another 50. And that's why sometimes when you see some of the posts come into your feed, they're a month old. They're a month old because they're on tranche 6 or 7. But at least it's moving. So when it comes to time-sensitive information, you got to remember, if you've got an event coming up and you want to promote your event, you better do it 7 or 8 weeks before, because it's going to take a while for those tranches to work its way through the system. And that's if it gets engagement. So here's the strategy for everybody. Does that mean you should give up on posting, sharing, liking, and commenting things? I don't think so. I think it's still a decent free strategy, but you got to get some help.
Wayne, I'm going to jump in.
You bet.
Somebody asked the question, what defines engagement?
Yeah, so engagement is a share, like, or comment. Share. Thanks for asking that. I'm glad you did, because I don't want to get too far along in that. And feel free to do that as you go along, Jessica, no problem. So is somebody opening, sharing, liking, or commenting what you just shared out? And what LinkedIn's reading that is, that's good stuff then. It's good stuff for your audience, okay? So the way you have to play this out is, if you want to get your stuff in people's feeds, is you've got to find some people in your organization or friends of yours that can help you move some posts along. And what that looks like is this. So here's a share that I did a couple of weeks ago. And I did this share for a nonprofit I'm involved in, okay? And I wrote a longer introduction. So we have an event coming up. It's an investment conference. It sells out every year, but we like to get a lot of buzz going, even though we sell this thing out. We also want to get people saying, hey, it's sold out, I want to get in, and say, well, you want to sponsor a table, then we can get you in, right? It's a typical kind of thing. But the bottom line is, I use the techniques that I think you should start considering. And that's where, like here, where you can see, be sure to share this with your network. And I tagged all the board. Every board member is tagged. My goal with that tag is that I'm hoping the board member will then share it out to their network, because I tagged them. And the tag meant that Murray received in his inbox, Wayne Breitbart just mentioned you in an update. And when he sees that, that's his trigger as a board member to swoop over here and go read the update. And then he should like and share it with his network, and maybe say a few things about what a great conference it is. And you hope that a lot of people in his network's going to attend. So tagging is one of the techniques. And how do we do a tag? It's as simple as this. When you're writing a person's name, instead of just writing their name out, you go through a tagging process like this. And see, when I grabbed your name, Mike, I put the @ sign before. LinkedIn grabbed all my Mike Harris's or Mike H's, and then I clicked it, and you notice it made your name darker. That's a tag. Now, if I would post this just like this, and I'll do it, you'll see what happens. It'll show in your inbox. It'll say that Wayne Breitbart had mentioned you an update. It'll say, and then the button says, join the conversation. You click join the conversation, and then that means I want you to see this thing.
Here's a related question. Are all engagements of equal value? So is one comment more valuable than, say, 2 likes?
Oh, I wish I knew the exact answer to that one, my friends. People are testing this to death. And here's what the latest round of testing says this, and this is counterintuitive, I think. A share does not do as well as a comment. You would think when you take the time, hit the share button and go, I'm going out to my network, and then say something about that article or whatever, that should do the best. So at this point, what LinkedIn's algorithm tends to like is a comment, especially if that comment has some tags in it, because then it could drag some other people into the conversation, right? So every time you're tagging people, you're hoping and praying they swoop over and at least say, thank you, at Wayne Breitbarth. I'll be there. Or I'm going to pass this on to my network, at Wayne Breitbarth. And then if they do a share on top of that, perfect, right? They've done all three things. So my suggestion is always a like, a comment with tags if you can figure out the right people to tag, and then possibly do a share. The other strategy is, notice I have these hashtags. Hashtags are fairly new. They were around LinkedIn a long time ago, but they're back. You might want to put some hashtags in here because hashtags are sort of a filing system on LinkedIn, a content filing system. And having hashtags, you might have people go, oh, I'm going to look up hashtagged investments, and up will come my post. And I'll go, oh, what's this investment conference in Milwaukee, right? And so you might drag some people into the conversation that normally would not be in my first degree, who might be interested in here attending this event. So, yeah, Mike.
A real quick question. So,
Yeah.
do you ever know, as the poster of information, how many people have ever had it in their feed?
No.
So you don't know if you had some sort of show you were promoting and it only got to 20% of your
You don't know that.
connections. Okay.
You don't know that. I mean, all you could start doing, it comes with that kind of testing and metric, is to build in maybe the link, make the link so it's a unique URL using a tiny or shortener, because then you could at least track the clicks that came from there. But to know who got it, we don't get that. I mean, you can look at the shares, likes, and comments, and I think that's the thing we should look at, not the views so much. The shares, likes, and comments, I tend to believe. The views, a view is it swoops right past on your feed. That's what LinkedIn counts as a view, Facebook counts it as a view, Twitter counts it as a view, right? It's not necessarily at all really an engagement as far as I'm concerned. So if you track your shares, likes, and comments, but that's a good question. I mean, I hope someday we get to that on LinkedIn, but for free, we're probably not going to, right? They might start doing that kind of thing for paid. Because let's face it, what LinkedIn really wants me to do with this post is they want me to put this post on Secure Futures company page, and they want me to write a check. And if I write a check to them, I can get this into the feeds of all our company page followers, but it takes a check, right? So when they came out with paid updates, they basically pushed back on what the organic reach would be, because let's face it, they're making a living. I mean, you and I open a business, Mike, and it was this kind of business, and we go, we're going to give everybody something for free and we expect them to pay. It's not a very good business model, is it? Right? As much as it frustrates those of us who are not going to write a check for LinkedIn. Now, here's the thing. Here's the action step. Besides those engagements and getting the tags and that, why don't you consider direct messaging this? So the strategy for that, and I'm going to show you how to do that, is why not send a direct message to the people in your network that makes sense and get it in their inbox? And I would do it just this way. I come up to my search box, I click for people, and then I click off filters. And then I might go, okay, it's a Milwaukee event, so I'm going to click Milwaukee. And then I'm going to go over here to the people that might be interested, let's say the industry. So security, of course, it's security, not investigation, sorry, I want the second one. I put investments in as an industry and investment management, and then I'll put finance, financial services, and then maybe even put the banking industry. Okay, so I've grabbed 3 industries in Milwaukee. And then I'm going to come down here and say, well, I'm also going to grab the people who look like they could write a check, that they have, they're in charge, so they could write a sponsorship check. All right. So I'm going to put president or vice president in Milwaukee of that kind of space. Okay. It happens to be 1900. Hello, that's a big list. So maybe I want to tighten that down. Maybe I simply want to say, okay, let's look at people who work at Baird. So you can use all your filters and apply. And now I got these 103. And if Baird is not a sponsor, then I'm going to go through here using this message box. See that? And I'm going to craft. Wait, hang on. First degree went away. Hang on. I changed my filters for the first one off. There we go. Always go back, make sure that it's first degree, because then you can message these folks. Second degree, a connect box will show and you can't communicate with them the way you want to. So I would craft a message to these 8 people at Baird saying, hi, blank, and I'm going to drop in the blank, and I'm going to cut and paste into 8 messages or to the ones that I think make sense, right? The beauty of that technique is it gets into their inbox. And it not only gets into one inbox, it gets into 2. It gets in their LinkedIn inbox, and then they get pinged over in their Outlook or their Gmail and say, hey, you have a message in your LinkedIn inbox from Wayne Breitbarth.
And is that one-on-one? You have to send each message separately?
Yeah. And that's a good and a bad, Mike. Here's the good is, if it was more mass, you know how many messages we get on LinkedIn? We'd be so turned off by messaging on LinkedIn, we probably would leave so it forces this sort of, I call it a speed bump, that you got to cut and paste. But I think it's for our own good, because if we couldn't control ourselves, if we could push a button and go, well, one more message to my people, like it's one little push of a button. So I think LinkedIn is smart for doing that. On the other hand, I get people to go, that's frustrating to me. Well, they're doing it for our own good. But the beauty of it is it's in the inbox. It's in 2 inboxes. And guess what that reader has to at least do? Delete it twice, right? Where if it was in a feed, I'm taking the chance on this feed thing. And you even being on LinkedIn, if you were a lucky one to have it in the feed. Okay, so that's, okay. So let's just summarize what's going on. So there's, number 1, there's an algorithm. Number 2, it's not your friend. Okay, so in order to make this work for you, the posting and sharing and liking is you got to get some procedures to work with some other people in your organization to give it some juice. That's the engagement, the sharing and liking. But you may want to opt out to it also using direct messaging with this technique. Works great. Because after all, it's the privilege you have of being in the first degree that you can message people. Okay, that's the privilege.
Is direct messaging different than an email?
Exactly the same thing, except it's free.
Okay.
That's right, Mike. And that's the privilege of it, right? You don't have to pay for the direct messaging. Okay. All right, that's number 1. So understanding how the new algorithm works. Okay, next. So this is interesting. Last fall, LinkedIn changed what we receive when we download our entire database into a spreadsheet. So let me show you that technique, because a lot of people don't even know that technique exists. When you go to Me, Settings and Privacy, in the Privacy tab, if you slide down to Download Your Data, and then you click Connections, and you request an archive, you'll get a spreadsheet of all of your first degree connection on LinkedIn. You'll get their first name, their last name, their current company, their current title, and you'll get the date you connected with them. Now, what's interesting is there is another column in that spreadsheet. It says email address. It's empty. As of November, emails did not populate that spreadsheet. So frustrating to some of us that we're going to do it the right way and ask for permission. Not frustrating to the people who are getting way too many messages by people who did not ask for your permission, and they scraped up that beautiful spreadsheet and they pumped it into their constant contact and said, they're mine, what, I could do it, nobody stopped me. Well, did they really ask for permission to get whatever it is you're going to put them on the list for? There's a debate about that, right? Well, you're my LinkedIn connection, you want my stuff. I don't know, I didn't expect that. So the bottom line is LinkedIn took that away because I think partly because of the Europe thing, the GRMD thing, the European privacy stuff that went on last year, right? So they decided, we're not going to mess with this. We're going to get safe on this. But what's interesting is you do get the email addresses. You have the email addresses. They're on their profile and the contact info. So I've had some people start doing this. They take the spreadsheet. Let's say it's, in your case, I think you got 1,800 connections. You take you sit down and you go get a niece or a nephew or a grandkid or say, hey, got some time on your hand there, sonny boy? Oh, sure. Grandpa's got a project for you. And Grandpa loads it onto his LinkedIn. He puts the spreadsheet up. He says, I want you to go in one at a time and scrape off the email addresses and populate my spreadsheet. and you'll get your spreadsheet up to date. And not only that, every month when you go back to college, I expect you to go back into Grandpa's and reorder them by the new connections and make sure my spreadsheet's always up to date.
Wayne, one question I have is, it seems like people in their email address in that contact section on LinkedIn, most of the time it's personal. You don't see a lot of people using their corporate email. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because that's changed, Mike. In the beginning of LinkedIn, when I was first on it, everybody used corporate because it's a business thing, right? Now it's mostly Gmail, mostly Yahoo, mostly CenturyLink, mostly Roadrunner, an email that you owned and you got licensed to and nobody can mess with. And that's, you know what? It's the right move. Now, what we do have to do though, and you bring up a good point. You might want to communicate with people and say, on an ongoing basis, would you like me not to communicate with this Gmail with you? And if you're going to do some kind of a permission-based thing, then in that email, I would say, hey, we've got great, we do a great newsletter at Patina Solutions, lots of opportunities, blah, blah, blah. You're in my network. Thanks for being in my network. Just want to offer up to you maybe to become part of the network that receives this email. Click here to agree, or click here to put in a different email, right? So always respect the fact that that's starting to happen, okay? And I think that's a wonderful question for you to ask. Okay, so this is a takeaway for LinkedIn, but some people don't even know it's a takeaway because they didn't know you could get the spreadsheet in the first place. And if I were you, I'd start downloading this spreadsheet like yesterday, because what if this goes away? What if this goes away and you never did this? You're going to go, I wish I would have listened to Wayne. I think he did mention that on the last Patina webinar. Well, yeah, because at least if you get the spreadsheet, you got the titles. You got titles and company names. So maybe you can use that spreadsheet for other marketing purposes, right? Or put it into your Outlook or whatever you're trying to do with these people. Let's face it, we're building our LinkedIn network for a purpose. And maybe that purpose isn't to continually communicate here on LinkedIn. Maybe it's to take it offline and move it into another database. And we all know that when it comes to the social media tools, we should not fall in love with that tool for every function and feature that we're either currently not paying for, the 80% of people who don't pay, or we're paying for, but LinkedIn changes the pricing, right? So the more we can use social media tools to gather people around us and move them into a database that we own at the company that nobody can mess with, and that's a treasure and an asset that some people will actually value in a purchase of a company. You'll never find an attorney that will let us value our LinkedIn connection. But if you got an email list, you got an email list of 20 or 30,000 people in your target audience, that's an intellectual property asset that you'll get valued because nobody can mess with it. You own it. You don't own this. This is a site that you got to assume it's going to change and mess with you. And so just keep that in your thoughts. Don't fall in love with these things. I mean, I'm the biggest issue in the world. I got to fall in love with it. It's what I do for a living. Okay, let me give you number 3. Item number 3 was we had brand new group last fall. LinkedIn was all excited. For 3 years, we've been hearing about it. Upgraded group function because the group features have sort of deteriorated and the people using groups. It used to be when I did my survey, Mike, I always ask what your favorite features are. And I've been doing a survey for 8 straight years. It was always one of the top 5 features the first 5 years I did the survey. The last 4 years I did the survey, fell off the map. Now, they gave us brand new group thing last fall. Guess what? Fail. If anything, they took things away. Like they took away this. They took away the group manager had the ability to message people in his group once a week. A message. They took that away. So here's the deal on groups. Unless you find a good group that's being managed well with the right people in it, and the conversations are good, and you can tell it's a great place for you to hang out virtually, which that's rare, by the way, then don't spend a lot of time in groups, because I have not found the strategy out of that. So that's a Debbie Downer point, sorry. But at least people won't spend their time over there thinking something's going to happen that isn't. I think LinkedIn still is trying to figure out what to do with groups. It's still a tremendous opportunity for them, but I don't think they've really figured out how to have this integration between what we want, what the group managers want, and what the people want. So the next one, and this is the goodie. This is a real goodie. We had a complete change to company pages. We got a brand new company page upgrade to the point where they don't even call them company pages anymore. They call them pages. They're now referred to as pages. And I really like some of the enhancements to the pages. So let me take you through some of those. Because if you do not have a company page and you're on this call and you are a consultant, you should have a company page. They're free. Google loves them. I mean, if I Google the name of my company, and it's just me and my wife, right? I Google the name of my company, it's on page 1 of Google. That means I got a free spot on Google because Google still likes LinkedIn. We'll see how long that lasts, right? Because what does Microsoft own? Bing, right? So somewhere along the way, there might be this little breakup between Google's love for social media. I hope not, but you don't know. But the bottom line is, at this point, your company name is going to come up very high in the search, and you get this spot for free. So this is my company page. And let me point out some of the things that change and the opportunities you might have. And I've got 2 pages open, one to view as a member. So this is what you get to see if you visit my company page. And I'll show you the guts of it if you're viewing it as an administrator. So what's changed? We still have a banner. The banner's always been there. I'm very high on having banners. The logo is important because that's what gives a carry over to everybody's personal profile. But this is brand new. We now have a tagline. No taglines were available before. Now we have a chance to put some good keywords in what LinkedIn calls a tagline. I tend to just say it's a great place for you to put your best keywords. So load in there. If you got a tagline, put it in there, but then use the rest of your space to use some additional keywords, what you get Googled for. Now, another thing that I've been pushing people towards, and this was not a change, but still a great strategy on LinkedIn, is that your name field on your company page, why not take advantage of the extra spaces after the name of your company with things that you do? And the reason that's so cool is then when you look at somebody's profile, I'll show you then because I put those extra words in the name field of my company page, look what shows up on my entry on my individual profile. So you get a chance, if you write your company name right, those words will carry over to all your employees if they attach to your company page correctly. And those are great keywords in the company name. Power formula means nothing to nobody. What's Wayne in the energy business, or what's the deal? No, LinkedIn training, LinkedIn consulting, LinkedIn speaking. Now that shows that if I had employees, it would be on all their profiles when they add their name, the company name. Great strategy, being missed by most people.
Wayne,
Okay.
somebody has a really good question.
Yeah.
Todd asked, do you need Sales Navigator for a company page?
You do not. Only requirement on a company page is you cannot set up a company page with an email that is either Gmail, Yahoo, one of those. You have to at least have an email address that has a domain that follows the name at. Okay. Now that doesn't have to be your primary email address on LinkedIn. You can still have that be Gmail, but then you need a secondary email address with info@powerformula.com or something. Okay, so I like the new tagline is nice. Let's go to the About page, which we had some real nice changes to the About page. This is about, you get 2,000 characters. I'd say use it all. Here's the change that I really like. Phone number. We never had phone numbers before. LinkedIn did never have a field for the phone number, so I always add it at the bottom here. But now we got a box for phone number. Be sure to do that. LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn finally realized that some people still use the telephone. They don't have a phone system in that building. Isn't that crazy? I'm not saying the phone's going to make a comeback. Don't give me, but if I talk to my daughter and say, Dad, forget it. The phone's not making a comeback. I'm not saying that, but they at least recognize that some people still use a phone. Here's another
a good question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody asked, do you recommend having a company page and an individual page?
For sure. There is little downside other than the 1 hour you're going to spend to build it out. And by the way, here's how you build it out. I should mention that. Underneath work, the work button, create a company page shows up at the bottom. Simple as that. Follow the steps, and they are pretty simple. Here's an addition. The specialty section now is bigger. Guess what those are? Just keywords, right? Make sure you get your specialty section loaded up with good keywords. And lots of them, because there isn't a lot of content on there's a lot less content here than there is on your individual profile that we can be indexed by the search engine. Okay, here's so spend time on the new upgraded company pages. If you're a solopreneur or a small consulting company, look at my page. My page will be perfect for you because of what I do, right? My page has got great examples of how to do things. And then when it comes to your company page, then you can post stuff. Now, should you spend a lot of time posting on your company page and on your personal page? Well, if I have time for only one post, it's on my personal page. You're going to get a lot more traction. If I have some extra time, I still post some stuff on my company page. You don't want your company page to have 0 updates. So even if you post 4 or 5 or 6 things, a video, a link to your website, some testimonials, and you leave it at that, at least you got some content there. Okay, I'm gonna leave company pages. I got one last thing on the changes, and then I got some bonus stuff here we're gonna go into that you're really gonna like. Do not leave the webinar, because I'm gonna share with you 6 really amazing but hard to find LinkedIn features, okay, that have nothing to do with sort of changes. These are just features that people don't get. But I got one more change feature. It's this. On profiles, we really haven't had many changes except one that I think is pretty nice. They now have a section that shows up very high in your profile called licenses and certifications. This part used to be buried down here in our accomplishments. I shouldn't say buried. It used to show up in accomplishments. I love the accomplishment section, but I especially like how they've given us these licenses and certifications up higher in our profile so people can see that we have these certifications or licenses. That's a credibility issue, right? Make sure people have the right credentials for the thing that they want to hire you for. Okay, so let me just wrap up sort of what we did, the 6 things we covered. We covered number 1, the changing in the posting and sharing algorithm and the new strategies relating to that. Number 2, we talked about how to communicate with the masses is not as easy as it used to be with our spreadsheet that had email addresses, but I gave you an alternative to that with direct messaging individuals. Groups were a major change, but as far as I'm concerned, a flop and not really worth much of your time. Company pages are now called pages with some really nice enhancements. Get your company page up there so Google loves it. And then the 5th thing was a small change to licenses and certifications. So what I'm going to do next is, before I jump into the 6 amazing features that are hard to find on LinkedIn, I'm going to just look at some questions. We're going to answer some questions here. I got a few. Let's see. Can I comment on my comment? Sure, you can. You can even like your own comment. Although my daughters tell me, Dad, you shouldn't be liking your own stuff. So do what you want. All I know is their interactions, whether LinkedIn's algorithm picks up on that or not, I don't know. I find my mobile works much slower than my laptop. Why? I don't know. That sounds like a connection problem to me, or a browser problem of some sort. That one I wouldn't know. Okay. I hear a lot of colleagues using Handshake over LinkedIn. Thoughts? Interesting you bring that up. I have investigated Handshake. I think it's interesting. I think we have to keep watching this stuff. Do I think it'll replace LinkedIn? Guess what? 17 years it took LinkedIn to get 600 million people. So how long will it take Handshake to have enough people so that it's a true database that we don't have to go to where there's 5 million people? I don't know. Could it change? Not overnight. So keep your ears open to this stuff, because I think many of us are frustrated with how LinkedIn operates, and we would love to have a competitor to LinkedIn, but
I view that also like somebody trying to replace Facebook. You gripe about it, but who's really going to take on that amount of users? And right? That's how it feels.
Yeah. Interesting you bring up Facebook, Mike, is when people ask me, do I think there'll ever be a LinkedIn competitor, and wish they did it better, and why wouldn't there be? And I'd say, I just share that 600 million thing, but I say this. I say, Facebook to me is the only one that could. If Facebook, they have 2.5 billion, right? So if they said, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to have a new thing called a business profile, and it's going to have LinkedIn profiles type stuff. And we're going to be able to see who our friends know, first, second, third degree. And we're going to make it this more buttoned up status feed. I don't know, because they already got the people, right? So I think that's but what do I know? I'm just sitting there helping companies and people and universities understand how to use LinkedIn. It's enough of a job for me than to guess this kind of stuff. Next one. I don't get my LinkedIn messages in my email. Is there something I need to do differently? Yes, go into your settings. Go into your communication settings. The default is that you will get your LinkedIn messages. You'll get pinged in whatever email you picked. But if somehow that got turned off, you won't get them over there. So you can control what comes into your email box. Any problem with the phone number spam? That's an interesting question. I'm a fan of, especially when we're sales folks, and I consider myself that, having my email, my phone number show up like this on my profile. Do I get more spam phone calls because of that? I bet you I get about 10 spam phone calls a month. Is that more than I would have? I don't know. I can't tell you, but I'm not getting hundreds and hundreds. So you've got to decide this. Maybe you set up a separate email and maybe a separate Google phone number for LinkedIn if you're worried about that. But I think it's important, especially when you're trying to grow a business, to make sure your contact information does not require somebody to be a first degree just to get your contact information. Because remember, that's what happens. When this box is clicked on your profile, only your first degree people get to see the phone number and the email address on here, not your seconds and thirds. So you could be frustrating somebody by not making it easy for them to get a hold of you. I mean, I even build it up here into my banner because I want it to be easy. But you know what? You've got to do what you think is appropriate. I don't want you to go, Wayne told me. No, stop. I'm telling you what you could do. And if your gut doesn't kick in and say, I shouldn't do that, then do it. If it does kick in and say, that does not make sense with the way I want to operate, then please don't do it. Okay? Simple as that. I'm experimenting and learning these things just like everybody on this call. Okay, what do we got here? Okay. Has LinkedIn restricted more people due to, this is interesting. Has LinkedIn restricted more people due to, I don't know them, where there used to be a button that you could report people, right? It's gone. It's gone now. So when you used to go into your network, and this changed, so I guess that would have been a change I could have talked about. When you hit ignore, a box used to pop up and say, I don't know him. And then that was sort of the penalty box. LinkedIn will keep track of how many people click that button. It's not there. At least recently, it's not here. So I don't know if a change is going on at LinkedIn or what, but I will tell you this. LinkedIn does not. Here's how you're going to get in trouble on LinkedIn. Here's the number one restriction, not limitation. Limitation is like you want to do more searches every month, but you don't want to pay. That's a limitation. A restriction is, will LinkedIn kick me off for doing something wrong? What they're going to kick you off for doing something wrong is by using outside software that digs into the LinkedIn database that's not approved by them. That can hurt you badly. If they warn you that you're using outside software and you don't respond, look out, my friend. They'll use that. I've never heard where they haven't warned you. Okay, so you got to be aware of that because there are lots of tools out there, and I've used some of them. Usually Chrome extension kind of tools. They're free usually, and they go out and they grab LinkedIn data. LinkedIn hates that. And trust me, they can tell if you're on it. And they've got certain ones that they really hate enough that they've gotten to people and said, listen, take that down, or you got 48 hours to take that down or else. Some of them they've let operate. Okay, so just be careful with that. When you get a note from LinkedIn telling you that you better do something, you better do it. Now, I will tell you this, there is more and more emails showing up in your inbox that look like LinkedIn and they're not LinkedIn. There's phishing campaigns that are going on using LinkedIn's logo and it looks like a LinkedIn message of some sort. So, okay, next one. What's the best way to leverage LinkedIn Premium? Well, I would answer that this way. The number one reason that I would tell people they need to move to Premium is because they can't do enough searches. What does that mean? That means if I do a search like this, I'll do a quick search. I'll search for people, and I'm on free LinkedIn right now. People, I'll filters, and I'll do Milwaukee, and I'll look for people who are in construction, let's say, and they have a title of president. Okay, apply. So this could be a great list for you if you call on construction president people. If you try to do too many of these searches and look at these profiles once they show up and you're on free LinkedIn, sometime during the month, you're going to get shut down by LinkedIn. If you're not on at least business premium or more expensive than business premium. So Should people be on premium? If you got to do a lot of searches and you like the way the search engine works and you don't like getting shut out on the 10th or 12th or 15th day of the month with doing these searches and you haven't figured out some other workarounds, then I think you got to be on premium.
Wayne, how much is premium right now?
So there's a $30 premium. It's a job seeker premium, but it does not get around this search issue. You got to at least move to business premium to get to that. And then it goes up from there.
And what's business premium?
Business premium is $50 a month. And Sales Navigator, the one that LinkedIn's trying to get us all to go to, Sales Navigator Professional is $80 a month. And it goes, there's two other versions of Sales Navigator that are more expensive. So before we get ready to sign off, I want to make sure that I tell you about this article that we're going to include with the notes for this webinar about the 6 LinkedIn features that are hard to find that I want you to know about, okay? And I will go through some of them. I'll display just a couple, okay? Because I don't have time to do all 6. But the first one is most people have not found that you can still save your searches after you've done a search. So here I did this search. If this is a good list for you, you go, man, I'd like to save that list. Well, what you have to do is you have to always make sure that you've got something typed in the top search box. In this case, I look for presidents. So I'm going to put the word president in that search box once I brought my search back. And then over on the right-hand side, look what box just showed up, save searches. I can create a search alert. You can have 3 save search alerts on free LinkedIn. Sales Navigator, they give you 15, right? Search alerts are a wonderful tool, but you can't get to them unless you have some word in the top box. So I usually duplicate whatever I use in the title box and dump it up there. Okay, next one, alumni. Oh, this is a great feature. Think about this as your way to walk on campus with every person you ever went to that school. Click on the school you went to, type it in the search box. Then when you get to this page, click alumni. And now you can filter and sort by date, keywords, where they live, where they work, what they studied. And anytime when you get done filtering, people will pop up on this list. Great tool on LinkedIn. Most people have not run into. You can add media to your profile. So, just adding additional pieces of either web links or documents like this is a missed opportunity from a marketing standpoint to send people from this page to somewhere else or upload this document or watch this PowerPoint or listen to this podcast. Great feature on LinkedIn. Number 4 is to download your connections. We went through that one already. Number 5 is to send groups messages to fellow group members. You can do that, by the way. That's one of the reasons you might want to be in groups, because you can actually send a message to a person you're in a group, even if you're not connected to them, where you would normally have to burn an email. But what you'll have to do is you have to go into the group, put their name in the search box, up comes their name, then it says send a message, and you can send a message for free to somebody you're not connected to. And the last one is searching connections of connections. And I call this the referral thing, Mike. You're going to love this one. If you put your cursor in the search box and you click people, and then you click off filters, and then you put in the name. So, for example, let's say I'm going to meet with you, Mike, and you're a client that loves me and would give me referrals, except what you don't appreciate is me going, hey, Mike, referrals are good for me, man. And like anybody in your network, I call it the Northwestern Mutual question, right? Anybody in your network I should get a hold of. As much as you love me, when I throw that question at you, you're going, Wayne, really? Like, we got to do this kabuki dance every time I see you, right? And yet you know that they're good, right? And because you like them in your business too, right? Watch this. So you put a person's name in here. Let's say I'm going to meet with Mike. And then I'm looking to see, I'm going to go see who Mike knows in Milwaukee who has the title of CEO. So up comes this beautiful list of 49 people, right? So you can prepare for all the meetings and phone calls with the people that love you, know you, and care about you, and might help you meet some of their friends, but do your homework. And I got a worksheet that I'm attaching to this webinar that you're going to love on how to do this exact feature. But on the back side of that worksheet, it's the exact 3 questions you should ask your friend. You give them the list, and I wouldn't give them a list of 49. You got to make it down to 10 and say, hey, Mike, I found these 10 people in your network. Can we just chat about them quickly? And the worksheet has the exact 3 questions I should ask. It's wonderful. It's probably one of the best worksheets I've ever come up with. And just for you, Mike, I'm including in this webinar, my friend, because I love the Patina Nation for sure. Okay, so grab that article, everybody. And do we have time for more question, or are we done? Or are you going to wrap up? How are you guys doing?
I think we need to wrap up.
Okay, cool. We're going to wrap up.
Please stay on the call, everybody, for just one last minute or so. I just want to let you know we've got an arrangement with Wayne, an exclusive package for everybody in the Patina Nation. We call it the LinkedIn Optimization Package. My take is if you're going to be an independent consultant like most of our folks are on the phone and you're going to do this and take it seriously, this is probably the best $250 you're going to spend. We have a package where Wayne will do a 1 hour screen share with you to discuss strategies and tactics about improving your LinkedIn profile, how to really use it for maximum impact and effect. You'll even get a little video recording of the screen share session that Wayne does with you. And you'll get some post edit after you're done. Wayne will take a quick look and review, make sure everything sort of looks as planned, and we'll give you some feedback. And then including today's program, we've had about 15 to 20 people do this already. Very, very pleased with the session. Very good use of good ROI on the investment. And then they have a quarterly webinar that's more private, and Wayne will be doing that today in about 5 minutes for folks who have been through this. So I highly recommend you do that. You'll see some testimonial on the slides. We won't go through that right now, but it's really good stuff to read over. People have been very pleased with that. And then after you're done with this, you're going to learn everything that you're going to see on this current slide. You'll get a lot of benefits on just the stuff that Wayne's covered. So I won't go through all of these, but I just personally think it's a very good investment to make. Wayne is obviously very passionate, very knowledgeable, and he's super smart at using LinkedIn to drive more revenue for you. So Wayne, I want to thank you again for coming back. You're always one of our favorite guests. You're a fun guy to listen to, and there's just good practical tips here that we're getting. I learned 5 or 6 things today, and I've got the highest level of sales Navigator. I buy it for all of my salespeople at Patina. And, I feel like I'm a pretty good user of LinkedIn. And after listening to this, I picked up a bunch of things that I'll do differently too.
Thanks, Mike. Honored to be on. Always fun to be with you guys. I look forward to helping the members of Patina Nation on these optimization events.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody.
This has been a presentation of the Patina Nation. To watch more content like this or for more information, please visit us online at www.patinanation.com.